Welcome to another edition of Our City. A few things going around the city of Elizabeth this week. On Monday, June 24th, the high school will graduate their high school seniors. We have about 1,100 graduates. It's going to be held at Williams Field at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we're looking forward to wishing all of the high school seniors throughout the city of Elizabeth well as they embark on a safe summer and hopefully their college careers or in the workplace. If you need more information concerning any events this week or next, please call our Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. And this week, I'm pleased to be joined by three members of Jewish Family Services, and we're going to talk about Lifelong Elizabeth and a lot of programs that they're working for our senior citizen community. Miss Jill Dispenza, Mr. Carlos Herrera, and Miss Margaret Church. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
So Jill, I know we're taping and it's going to be airing another day, but today, June 19th.
18th.
June 18th.
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure. Is your birthday. Happy birthday.
It is. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Yeah,
I
many,
appreciate
many
it.
more.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here today.
What led you to Jewish Family Services? Where's your career go and how did you get here?
So I actually was a trader for 15 years, 7 years in New York, and I lived out of the country for 7 years. Moved back, I had a young child, one on the way, and did the mom thing for about 15 years and a lot of volunteering. I was looking to get back to work. Somebody connected me with JFS, and I've been there almost 5 years, and it's been great. I started out just doing some social media and marketing for them, and now I run 2 grant-funded programs, and it's just a lovely place to work. I've learned a lot about Elizabeth, met some wonderful people. So that's
Well, you're a Union County girl, though, right?
I'm a Union County girl for 17 years now.
Right.
Originally a Long Island girl, but we won't go there.
Well, we're glad to have you, Jill.
Thank you so much.
It's good to work with you. Carlos, you've been with Jewish Family Services a few years as well.
Yes, it'll be 3 years in September. So I'm actually a recent college grad from King University. I was initially drawn to JFS because of the mission of it, the health and social services. It's really something I identify with. I'm really glad to be a part of it. I joined Lifelong Elizabeth now. It's going to be 2 years in a couple of months.
So where's your home?
Elizabeth.
It is?
Born and raised, yep.
Born and raised?
Yep.
Did you go to high school here?
I did. I went
Okay.
to Upper Academy, graduated there 2012.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you.
Yeah, good to
And
be
Margaret,
here.
you're the newbie on the block, right?
I am, yes.
Just short of 3 years.
A year and a half.
Year and a half, so
Year
you're
and a
just
half.
short of 3 years.
Right, just short.
And where do you hail from, and how did you wind up in
I live
Jewish
up,
Family Services?
in Essex County, it's been wonderful getting to know the city of Elizabeth through my position at Jewish Family Service. So not only do I do Lifelong Elizabeth there, but I also am a social worker with older adults. And previous to being in New Jersey, I was in New York City for over 10 years working with older adults there too.
So are you a Jersey girl or are you a New York girl? Where were you born?
Actually hail from Pennsylvania.
Oh, you hail from Pennsylvania, neither
Yeah,
one.
the other way.
The other way, west.
Yep.
There's a big sign here. It says where the country begins or something.
That's true.
Do you think so?
Well, I'm from a farm, so I
You're
would
from
say
a
so,
farm.
yeah.
Well, it's good to have you here at this organization. They do great work over there. So Lifelong Elizabeth and the background. How did it start and where are we going with Lifelong Elizabeth? Start with you, Jill?
Yeah, so we started, in the initial start of Lifelong Elizabeth was the fall of 2015. I was not yet involved. Your friend Mary Lucy Lopes was doing Lifelong
That's right.
then.
I forgot about Mary. Don't tell her though.
Okay, I won't.
Yeah.
And then in the spring of 2016, we launched a survey from older adults in Elizabeth, and we spoke to them about what was important to them. What do they think they need to age in place in Elizabeth? So we did focus groups and surveys, which you were, I believe, at our launch of our survey in April 2016. We worked with NJ Tippett Rutgers very closely with Phyllis Rice from the city and our consultant Stu Bressler, and disseminated the information and really looked at what was important to older adults in the city. The whole Lifelong Elizabeth program is funded by the Grata Fund for Senior Care, and they've been a great support as we've moved forward. So that's where we started.
So Jill, the Jewish Family Services went after this grant, right? The Grata Foundation was
Yes.
interested in, they've done stuff like this in other parts of the state or?
They have.
country?
They have done, there's actually 9 communities right now who are being funded either by the Grata Fund, which is in Union, Morris in Essex County, or the Town Foundation is funding in Bergen County. And what's wonderful about this coalition of partners who are all doing the same thing is we have monthly meetings with Grata and Taub. So we look at what is going on in other communities that might not be the same as Elizabeth. Elizabeth's pretty unique in the currently funded age-friendly community. But we've been very fortunate to work with a lot of individuals who really know what's going on in the age-friendly community, and we've been able to bring that work back to Elizabeth these past 4 years.
So you talked about a survey and the focus groups you've held. Guide us in the direction of Lifelong Elizabeth's work.
So the surveys really came out, the initial surveys, which as I said were done in 2016, brought us that what the older adults in Elizabeth were most interested in was communication, which everybody wants to know what's going on, and older adults tend to use social media or Facebook or online newspapers less, so how do you reach them? So we've worked on that. Safety, both
How
safety,
do you reach them?
however we
It's
can.
hard, yeah, it's hard, right?
So we work with others in the city who have relationships with older adults, and that's one way. And we continue on Facebook and social media, and flyers, things to tap into Elizabeth. So that's how we communicate. And the other thing that was important was transportation to the older
Yeah,
adults in our
we're
city.
going to get to cover a little more of that later.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
to that.
So Lifelong Elizabeth is part of the Jewish Family Services. And does Jewish Family Services play a role in this, and what role do they play? Carlos?
As Jill mentioned, actually, so JFS got the grant from the Grata Fund to start this initiative called Lifelong Elizabeth. And I think it's positioned perfectly because JFS has so many services already for older adults. There's a whole list of them, including transportation programs, there's home care, there's respite programs, caregiver groups, support groups for caregivers and the older adults. Meals on Wheels, there's social work, namely case management, food pantry services, counseling. So JFS is unique in that it offers all those services so that when we go out into the community and we see all these older adults that might need these services, we can just send them over to our agency or just to reconnect them with partners that we have, and they themselves have services to offer.
So Carlos, when you go out into the community, do you go out into the community, is Jewish Family Services geared towards Jewish families, or they also help others?
It's very good that you asked that because one thing we always stress is that Jewish Family Service is non-sectarian. So we offer services to all populations, all religions, all backgrounds. No one is excluded from our services. Of course, each thing has certain requirements. You can always call us to find out, but it's for the whole community.
In fact, a lot of our staff speak many different languages to help meet the diverse needs of such a diverse community here.
So you got somebody who speaks Hebrew, I would imagine, right?
We have over 11 languages spoke on staff.
11.
Yes, I probably can't name them all, but there are 11.
Well, Carlos probably speaks most of them. No.
Only two.
Only two.
English and Spanish. We're good enough for Elizabeth.
What about you, Margaret? You got another language or no?
No, un poquito.
No,
Un
un
poquito.
poquito, right? Yeah, un poquito español. So the Lifelong Elizabeth, when you both talked about the Grata Foundation. Did you have to write the grant, or was there a grant writing process to this? Way
Yes.
back when? Mary?
Oh, we have to write a grant every year.
Oh, that's what I'm getting at. So this is a continuing funding education type of program.
Yes, at this point, it's been funded for 4 years, and we were, there was a possibility, this was last year, but we received good news late last year, early this year, that will be funded for the next 2 years. And along with the funding, there's going to be some mentoring of other communities who are looking to do this, which is great.
Good, yeah. In October, Jill, Margaret, and Carlos, we received the AARP age-friendly designation. I was there for that. And so I know what AARP means. I refuse to join, by the way. I don't want to admit the mail. It's worth it, yeah. I get the mail and I'm like, I'm not going to do
You
this.
can still access a lot of their resources, thankfully, without membership.
I can, Margaret? Yeah,
Yes, yes.
it's so chilling to hear from you. Looking at you and looking at me, and it's just
I
really
get the mailings
encouraging.
too if it makes you feel any better.
What was that?
I get the mailings too if it
Oh,
makes
you
you feel
do.
any better.
Maybe a little bit.
Hey, I'm a member.
And you're a member, see?
I'll get
So what exactly does this designation mean?
Sure. So the age-friendly designation was something we were really excited and thank you for your support in getting us there. So we were happy to have that ceremony, and a lot of people ask us, well, what does that exactly mean that we're now designated as an age-friendly city? And for The City of Elizabeth, it means something specific. We put a lot of different efforts out there to meet the 8 domains of livability, which Jill will probably get into a little bit later. But you know, we're looking at the cross-sectionals of how to bring together collaboration. So working as a coalition, we look to meet to make it a good place to age in place, specifically for older adults, but we're looking at how to make it beneficial for all ages, any change we make in the community. The example I love to give is the example of extending the time a crosswalk is given. And that can benefit someone who's 80 years old and requires a walker. It could also benefit a young mother who has a toddler in tow and a stroller. So that kind of gives us the mentality of what's good for an 80-year-old is also good for an 8-year-old.
Yeah, you raise a really good point, because I think I've told this story at some of the events. One time on Elizabeth Avenue, we had an elderly woman crossing the street. A bus turned the corner and hit her. And then I happened to be there, and I didn't see the actual impact, but I turned to the bus driver. And I said, "What were you thinking?" And the bus driver said he had the green light. So it's kind of like, wow. But if the walking period was a little longer, maybe that woman would not have, she survived it. It was not a major impact, at least to us it wasn't. She's the one that got hit, right? But she survived. I'm just curious to know if that was a little longer, would that woman have a better chance of not
Certainly,
getting hit?
and a lot of the fears older adults face, and that can sometimes lead to isolation and keeping them homebound, is that they can't operate as others do in the community, like navigating stairs, navigating escalators, navigating crosswalks. You know, all these things about mobility create a barrier to them.
And you've actually done maps now, right? And I mean, we're going to get into that maybe in the second half.
Right.
So stay with it. We're going to take a break, run some commercials, and come back and talk more. Please stay with us after these messages. I'll back more with Jewish Family Services and Lifelong Elizabeth.
just minutes from New York City. We are the gateway to the state of New Jersey.
Welcome back to our city. We're having a discussion about Jewish Family Services and Lifelong Elizabeth. And Carlos, during the break, we were talking about the coalition. So who else do you partner with in the city of Elizabeth?
You know, every time we do these interviews,
You're going to leave somebody out.
Yeah,
Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
Okay, we'll jump in.
Yeah,
There you
Jill
go.
and Margot to help you out.
Got back up here. But you know, we actually work with a lot of partners. We'd like to say 35 plus. Even in each organization, we have a couple of partners in there. But we work at the state level from ARP to the AAA, the Northeast section here in New Jersey. At the county level, we have the Union County Division on Aging. From the city, we have the Office on Aging and the broader Department of Health. They've been very great partners that, you know, they've allowed us to go into the senior centers and do our presentations and help all the older adults there. Other departments within the city, other people, you know, like you said, I might be missing a lot, but an important part of that is that, you know, a lot of our work would not be possible if it wasn't for our partners. So whether it's the city level, county, state, even though other nonprofits, a lot of our work wouldn't be possible if we didn't have all these people to work with. At the nonprofit, I just want to add, you know, Shaping Elizabeth, they've been a wonderful coalition to work with. It's a great networking opportunity.
Well, they're a fun group of people, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shaping
yeah.
Elizabeth,
They've been
yeah.
on your show a couple of times too.
Yeah.
And so many nonprofits. There's a Elizabeth Public Library. There's a well, at the government level, there's also the police department. We've gone out with them and done presentations in the community. Groundworks Elizabeth, which is another organization funded with a similar funding stream.
Yep. Oh, the Housing Authority,
Housing
Kathy
Authority
Hart. We
is
do a lot
huge.
at all the
Yeah.
Housing Authority buildings.
Mm-hmm.
We've just started doing some off-campus type presentations there. So
Well, that's good.
they're wonderful. Anybody else we're missing?
Well, you
and
come to
just-
our senior centers, too, Margaret, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, all five.
Well, fine.
And it's a
That's
large
a good
city,
thing we have five, but I like the way,
yes.
I like the way an outsider says all five.
It's good, it's meeting the needs wherever they are.
Yeah.
So, some of the resources you've produced for Elizabeth.
Sure, I actually have some examples here.
That'd be great to
The
hear.
first thing we put out was this resource guide for older adults, and it lists a couple of the partners we just mentioned, like Habitat for Humanity, and this specifically was focused on safety in the home, which is integral to aging in place and being able to make that choice. We also have, I know you've modeled these for us before and had some photo ops, our safety vests.
Yes.
Very
Tell
fashionable.
us about that program. We've given them to seniors,
Very
right?
fashionable, yes. So we work a lot with the city's police department. They work with us to give walking safety presentations, which has been very pertinent. In fact, over Thanksgiving, there was an accident with an older adult outside of Farley Towers. So we were able to meet that community's needs and concerns by delivering one of these presentations in the safety vest so they felt a little more
And we also had to
safe.
repaint the walk and do other things to put the
Exactly.
thing up
So we
right.
could address that pedestrian issue front and center and assist with bringing in the police department as well as working with the housing authority from the building standpoint and working with those residents so they feel like something's being done in light of that. Other resources we have the transportation guide, which we did bilingually with NJTIP. So we're very proud to produce all of our materials in English and Spanish. And Carlos is a wonderful translator. He
You
rides
do
along
the translations, Carlos?
Yeah.
for all of our presentations as
Yeah.
well, so he is on the
And
spot
flyers.
quite a bit.
I was kind of just throwing it. I
So
never
not only
did
can you
it.
speak it, you can write it,
Yeah, yeah.
which is interesting.
I never actually like did it professionally until I was kind of thrown into it. They're like, "Oh, we need someone to translate."
Surprise.
I jumped right in, and it's worked out so far.
Okay.
I haven't heard any complaints.
And we have this pull-out guide. It's an inset to transit. It's a
Which we
transit map
shared
for
with a
Elizabeth.
lot of people in the city.
Correct, and you can find these at JFS, at Jewish Family Service. You can find it also at the Office on Aging or at the Public Library. And we've built upon this with a new project with working with food providers, and Carlos will speak a little bit more about that
Yeah, sure.
in
Go
detail.
ahead, Carlos.
So, do you want to? Okay, so this actually, we had this foundation from the public transportation guide. A lot of the work was done thanks to Jill. When she started in the program, she spearheaded this and did a wonderful job with all our partners here. There's Grotto Fund for Senior Care, JFS, and Trinitas.
And the city helped us with this,
City,
with
yes.
this project, with printing of it.
We printed some books for you. Remember I
Yes,
talked to you about that?
You certainly did.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. So with the transportation guide, we actually, Shaping Elizabeth, which I mentioned before, they have a food policy committee. And we were able to present to them and tell them about this opportunity from the city, the CDBG grant, to map out the food providers in the city using the base of the transportation map and have all the locations throughout the city, which bus routes you can take, and information for each of these on the back in English and Spanish. So this morning, actually, we did another presentation at 4 Leonard Towers, one of the housing authority buildings here in the city. And, so many of them found it so helpful, and they wanted to tell all their
I
family
found it
members
helpful,
about it.
and I grew up here,
Yeah.
as you did, right? I mean, no one's ever put that resource together in the same folder before.
It was
as you
really
guys have.
just a great, we had the foundation from the first map, and we've done presentations at all the senior centers already, and now we're hitting some of the housing authority buildings. But then the map will be available to anyone within the city, and we'll have it online and can put it on the city site too. It's something that you don't need to be an older adult to utilize.
Right.
It's really, and I have to say that all of the work that went into finding all this information was done by Carlos expertly. Like going to places, he did a wonderful
He shows
job.
up everywhere. No offense, Jill, but between, I know I see
Yeah,
you
I
a lot.
know. I'll let him sit here
Margaret and
next
Carlos
time.
at a lot of places.
Well,
I was with Margaret at a breakfast this morning.
I work on 2 grants.
I know, I'm only kidding, Jill. No, I'm just saying, it's great to have a team like that, where they're out in the community and they're finding out the answers.
It's we say we bring different things to our team, and I think that's why we work so well.
So Carlos is an Elizabethan. So let me ask Margaret and Jill this question. What changes have you seen in the city since, Jill, you've been here 5 years, Margaret, you're here a year and a half now. You didn't know anything about Elizabeth before you got here, did you, Margaret? No.
Nor did I.
Neither did you, Jill, right?
Not really. You know what, I think,
But at least you've been in the county for a few years.
yeah, I guess about 17 years.
Margaret's a foreigner. She's never even been in the county, right, Margaret?
We welcomed her in with open arms. I think for me, what I've seen is, since we've been doing Lifelong Elizabeth, which I'll stick with, is just the ability for people who are working with similar populations to realize that we don't all have to rewrite the wheel or rework things to get things done. If Shaping Elizabeth is doing something that benefits older adults, we don't have to figure it out. We can work with them. If they need something with older adults that we're doing, vice versa. Even looking, the Office on Aging put together a small committee to talk to their older adults within the senior centers to see what's going on, and they invited us into those meetings. So I think the recognition of so many people doing interesting work and being able to do it with each other instead of against each other has been really nice, and I'm sure Margaret has more to add to that, but that's what I think's been really wonderful to see.
I share the sentiment. I think the sharing of resources and the collaboration that has been so integral to working as a coalition and not looking at things as a siloed approach, that we can all not try to create redundancies, but to try to reduce them and do things better because we're doing them together instead of all trying to do it individually. And I think one thing that we've been able to do that we've seen some progress in is bringing that focus to older adults, even though there's cascading benefits to that focus on older adults for other populations and other age groups. For example, we developed a lecture series with the library, and they didn't really have any specific programming for older adults before that. That was education-based. So things like that, bringing the focus and helping introduce new ideas.
So let's talk about the food provider coming together. Carlos, did you do that too, the food provider map?
Yeah, that's the one we spoke about.
We just spoke
Yeah.
about how you
Yes.
enhanced it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So food deserts, I mean, it's a problem not only in our city, but you would say around the country too, right? I mean, not that you're focused on that.
Right, yeah.
But we try to build
Definitely agree on
supermarkets in different areas where people don't have access to supermarkets.
Right, yeah. I would say it's definitely something that we're fortunate in Elizabeth to have a lot of great chains of supermarkets, but in other parts of the country where you can't really, you have to drive 5 miles just to get local groceries. You know, it's a problem, and we're happy that we're able to at least provide some help in that sense.
So Lifelong Elizabeth during Older American Month in May, what did you guys do? You did some programs.
We did some great programs, and it was definitely once again, any of these programs we did, it came from the coalition as well. So you attended. We did the big transportation summit at the library. It was actually 2 days, and in mid-May we did one for riders, people who, take the bus or need AAA or need Easy Link, one of the, ride services. And that was attended by about 60 older adults, and once again at the library, another partner, and we put that transportation summit on in partnership with the Office on Aging and Alonzo Jones, Krishna and their group. And it was great. We had great presenters. We actually had a city bus there on the side, and everybody was able to come on board who were interested to see how the handicap ramp works, or when you actually need change or when you don't need change, and talk to 3 people from the transportation, New Jersey Transit.
So we're running out of time. What does the future look like for, Margaret? What does the future
The
look like?
future of Lifelong Elizabeth. Well, we're very excited about some ideas that we have moving forward. Something that came out of the survey was a new focus on a specific group of the population that we coined the term grandfamilies. It's a nationwide trend that's happening about grandparents or relatives acting as parents or full-time caregivers for their grandchildren or other relatives. About 25% of households with older adults also include those under 18. And so we're working with specifically Bayway Family Success Center and Eport Community Center to develop some programs starting this fall, running a support group, running some social and recreation programs, and we're very excited about meeting that population, especially because we're shifting our focus onto intergenerational activities. For example, in May, we also did an all-ages bingo that was very successful and a lot of fun.
All ages, so you had kids?
All ages, so it was very
Grandparents,
popular. And that shift to intergenerational connections is really part of what makes age-friendly communities so vibrant, in my opinion, is that that intergenerational connection is a mechanism for creating a broader support network across the lifespan.
So I know you don't talk about it, it's not your ballywick, so to say, but is that garden still in the lawn in front of Jewish Family
That
Services?
garden is still
It is
there
still
and
there.
thriving.
It's thriving, right?
We know you like the garden.
I get a kick out of that garden. When I drive home at night, I usually see a car or two pulls up there. I don't know whether they're supposed to be there or not, but
Well, I'll tell you, the garden is over 700 square feet, and last year it produced over 1,500 pounds of produce that went out to the community through our food pantry, through social workers, for clients. So it does a good job, that garden, and it looks nice.
it does. I want to thank the 3 of you for taking time out of your schedule to join me on the show. I think it's been absolutely terrific, and you gave an education to a lot of people in Elizabeth who do not normally know what goes on at Jewish Family Services and how you reach out to the senior population. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I want to thank Ms. Margaret Church, Ms. Carlos Herrera, and Ms. Jill Dispenza for sharing their stories about Lifelong Elizabeth and Jewish Family Services here in the city of Elizabeth. Until next week, I'm Mayor Chris Ballwage, and we'll see you on another edition of Our City.